Coming up, the 40-hour work week continues to get tested. Is it relevant? And then Netflix with a controversial, but dare I say, common sense policy towards employees. We'll break it down next. Let's go. Helping you win at work. I'm Ken. I want you to get better, move up, and lead well. That's our goal here, so let's dive into this. The world of work is continuing to evolve and take on stress tests as it relates to how we work, where we work. And we've covered this a lot. New headline, which sets the stage for a conversation here about what the work week should look like, could look like. So in my hands, a CNBC article. Here's the headline. Greece becomes the first European Union country to introduce a 6-day working week. And these headlines are a bit misleading. And you can imagine just the very thought of that, what kind of emotion that drives in people, right? 6-day work week. What is going on in Greece? Well, let's dive in. Comes online in July. July 1 is when that happened. And this is new legislation, which was part of a much broader set of new labor laws. And what it is a application for private businesses only. So this is not government or any type of public institution, private institution only. And specifically for companies in Greece that are around the clock services. So think of a 24/7 type service or a much more extended set of hours, okay? And so in this situation, this new law allows for the work week to be extended to 48 hours a week. Now, in Greece, it's very, very different than here. It's a mandated 40 hours, nothing more. So they don't have the overtime flexibility that we do have in the U.S., okay? So all this is a measure that would impact two specific type of businesses, those with the continuous 24/7 operations that have a rotating shift and firms that operate 24 hours a day, 5 or 6 days a week. And it's going to allow an additional working day because right now in Greece, you are not allowed to work. A company cannot force you to work more than 40 hours. That's all this is. So these headlines, are very misleading, but we touch on it because it's created a lot of controversy, and it brings us back to what is a new wave, and I think a wave that's here to stay. We've talked about it on the show, and that's the 4-day work week. Now, we'll get to that in a minute, but let's set the context here. If you are an owner of a small business, if you are a manager of people and you have leadership autonomy to set your team's working schedule, whether we're talking about Greece having a 6-day work week or the 4-day work week, listen, leaders, what you've got to understand here is if you are managing people and you are starting with a set of hours, 40 hours, whatever the case may be, whatever their shift is, if that's how you are starting out in judging their productivity, you've missed the whole point. You've missed the whole point. Productivity is a result of autonomy. Autonomy is a result of you, the leader, instructing the people that you hire the way you want the work done, making it very clear on expectations as to when you want it done, how you want it done. And if you as a leader do a good job of the instruction piece, in other words, teaching, and you are talking to them on a regular basis to go, hey, did what I teach you, does it make sense? Is it working? Do you need more training? Do you need more resources? So the teaching and the talking, if you do a good job of that, leader, then guess what? You will see the results of what you were supposed to do. And you see it played out with a person who's doing a good job with what you've trained them to do. So then you should trust them more. And if you are mildly healthy as a leader and you do those things well, the teaching and the talking, then your trust levels are going to go up. And when your trust levels in them go up, you give them more autonomy to just go do the job. And then you're not focused on things like hours because they're getting the results done. I mean, do you really care if we do a blind test, an anonymous test? Do you care how much your team is working? Or do you care about the results that they are delivering that you are held accountable to? And every normal leader is going to go, I don't care how much they work. I just care that they get the job done. This is common sense. So let's lay this over, this reality that now you got a 4-day trial. And the report was published by think tank. I love the name of this think tank, by the way, Autonomy. Autonomy is one of my favorite words because it's a fancy way of saying freedom. And everybody wants to be free. So they found that most companies involved in the world's largest trial of 4-day working week had made the policy permanent. So the proof, as my grandmother would say, is in the pudding. The majority of companies that did a 4-day workweek trial have stuck with it. But it's also important to point out here that it doesn't mean that everybody should do it. It may not be the right fit. Certain industries, certain type of businesses, cultures. So that's fine. I mean, that's how it should go. Okay. Here's some interesting data. 56 out of 61 companies that participated in the 4-day work week decided to keep it. That's 92%. 92%. That's such a high rate. You can't ignore that data. You may not like it. If you disagree with it, you're just putting your head in the sand. 71% of employees who were involved in the 4-day workweek trial reported reduced levels of burnout at the end of the study. And as a result, less fatigue, anxiety, sleep issues, etc., etc., etc. Here's the ultimate proof in the pudding, though, because I can hear some of the cynics right now going, yeah, Ken, I'm tired of worrying about everybody's feelings and all this. I want to know, was the company more profitable? Company revenue rose by 1.4% on average. Not a huge gain, but a steady gain. And the finding from something like this is that if you can do a 4-day workweek trial and you see all of the positives for the employees themselves reporting less of the negatives, right? And you see profitability even at 1.4%, which is the average. That's not a huge number. You shouldn't be throwing a parade over a 1.4% jump in profitability. However, it makes the case that could be scaled a little bit better. And you could see the profit margin jump as you begin to systemize and tweak and change and evolve. There's no reason to believe that you can't do much better. This is interesting. Staff turnover dropped by 57%. Now, I'm just going to speak to leaders here for a second. The number one interrupter or disruptor of productivity and profitability is turnover. I'm not going to dive deep into the data here because it's for a bunch of nerds. But for those of you who want to test me on this and go, is Ken telling the truth? Go do your research. Super easy to pull up on Google of the cost associated with replacing an employee. Go research lost productivity in replacing employees. So if you see 57% drop in turnover, let me tell you something. Over time, I think it's like compound interest. And the longer you have retention, the greater opportunity you have for productivity not being halted or disrupted. And now profitability is going to be so much more sustainable and so much more possible to increase it. So, leaders, I'm not espousing for a 4-day work week. Because to me, I think it's company by company. I'm just telling you what's coming. But here's what I want you to understand, leaders. You can't drive people based on one metric and one metric alone, and that is just the time they put in. If you are leading well you need to understand that people want to be trusted to do their job. And you've got to do your part so that your trust goes up. And as your trust goes up in them, they feel it, they see it, and they will reward it. There's something about the human spirit that when someone puts trust in us, we want to show them that the trust was placed wisely. That is the lesson. Leaders, you get that? What's your job? What do you need to do better so that you actually trust the people you lead? And when you just naturally trust them, you don't even have to tell them. They'll feel it. They'll see it. And they will reward it. It's that simple, leaders. Trust is the magic pill to a productive and profitable company.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about Aiden. He started at Bethel Tech 2 weeks after graduating high school, and less than a year later, he's 19 and working as a full-stack software developer. He loved the idea of being able to work at his own pace, but what he really thought was cool was Bethel Tech's faith-based learning environment and being with classmates who had a similar worldview. Now, if this is you, or if you have a son or a daughter that's looking for the next step out of high school, and they may be tech-minded, at least interested, you need to talk to Bethel Tech. Listen to this. Fortune Magazine named them as a top 10 best UX UI bootcamp for 2024. And right now, they're offering you 10% off because you listen and watch The Ken Coleman Show. They also allow you to pay cash, and I know you'll like that. Go to betheltech.net/Ken Coleman for details. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show. Hey, if you're enjoying it and it's helping you, would you help us spread the word? You can do that on YouTube by liking the video you're watching, subscribing to the channel, and sharing. If you're listening via your favorite podcast app, give us a follow and a 5-star review and share as well. Okay, fascinating story here from Netflix. Netflix has been such a really interesting corporate story to see how they came on the scene and really disrupted Blockbuster, and then they take a little bit of a dip, and then they rise again through streaming and up and down, and this is fascinating stuff, and I can't wait to talk about this. This was very controversial to some people. I don't understand why. But here's the headline: Netflix CEO asked managers to do a keeper test and fire all employees who failed. So again, you read a headline like that and everybody's like, oh, these heartless beeps or whatever. But you go, wait. Well, let's just dive into the story here. So in a memo sent out to employees recently, Netflix explained that it viewed everyone at the company as a member of a dream team, saying specifically, we model ourselves on being a professional sports team, not a family. This is very interesting wording. So we know the Dream Team is best known as the 1992 Olympic men's basketball team where NBA players for the first time ever competed in the Olympics for the United States. And Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson. You know, I could go on and on and on. I'm not trying to show off, Bob, but, you know, I know everybody on that team. And, and so now we take that moniker and now we have an actual kind of an object lesson when we say dream team, but a dream team just simply implies that we have everybody we could possibly want on this team. Every position, it's an embarrassment of riches. You had David Robinson and Patrick Ewing. Are you kidding me? You had Charles Barkley and Karl Malone. Are you kidding me? You had Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Are you kidding me? Oh, you had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Are you kidding me? An embarrassment of riches. Okay? And so this is fascinating because Netflix says we see this company as a dream team. We don't see you as family. And that's a very interesting distinction there. Does anybody see it? There's no weak link on a dream team. It's like you take Larry Bird out, you put Chris Mullin in. There's no weak link. Hey, Patrick, it's time for you to sit out. Hey, David Robinson, go in for him. Okay, sure. We'll exchange super world-class 7-footers for each other. There's no weak link. Come on now. In the family, there's always a weak link. There's always that one cousin we all are a little embarrassed to be related to. There's always that one uncle that we're kind of like, I hope I don't ever see him in public. I mean, I'm right. But because it's family, what do we do? Well, we got to put up with Uncle Larry at Thanksgiving again. He's going to come talking about conspiracy theories and piss off half the family. Well, let's just get through it. Come on. Am I right? I'm 100% right. So the family, we're forced to put up with Uncle Larry. Oh, great. Uncle Larry's going to come in, and when he's not griping about politics, he's going to be talking about his gout. And he's going to drink all of the alcohol or whatever. You know, it's like, what do? We go, well, you know, we can't not invite Uncle Larry. Got to invite him. Why? He's family. But when we're putting the best team that the world has ever seen to play the game of basketball, we're not putting Chuck Nevitt on that team. 7'5" guy that played for the Pistons. He was awful. He's terrible. Look him up for you people that don't know who I'm talking about. We're not putting that guy on the team. Why? He's not good enough. So right out of the gate in this memo, it's pretty fascinating stuff. So they go on to say, a family is about unconditional love. A dream team is about pushing yourself to be the best possible teammate, caring intensely about your team, and knowing that you may not be on the team forever, Netflix informed its employees. Whoa. Now it goes on. Listen to this. This is the part that's controversial. To ensure they have the right player at every position, we are asking our managers to apply what we call the keeper test. Asking this question: if person X wanted to leave, would I fight to keep them? Or, knowing everything I know today, would I hire person X again? If the answer is no to if they were leaving today, would I fight for them? Or would I hire them again? If the answer is no, we believe it's fair to everyone to part ways quickly. Everybody's freaking out. Controversial. Netflix is heartless. I think it's a fascinating question. I think it's a really good question. I think it's a great question. Because see, if we all go back to my family example, and we all sat around at Thanksgiving before Uncle Larry and Aunt Mabel showed up, and we all said, hey, just for fun, before Uncle Larry gets here. Like, if Uncle Larry decided to never come back to a family holiday gathering again, would we try to convince him to come back? And everybody goes, no, it'd be great. If we had it to do all over again, would we ever invite Uncle Larry to anything? And if the answer is no, guess what? We're all kind of going, let's find a way to excommunicate Uncle Larry. We're not going to do that again because it's family. But I think these are fair questions. I don't think these are ruthless and heartless questions. These are fair questions. If person X, leaders, listen to me. This is what Netflix said. This is our keeper test. If a person on your team that you're leading today decided to leave, would you be disappointed? Would you try to convince them to stay? Would you sense that if they left, there would be a gaping hole that you would immediately rush to fill because of their unique qualities? Yes or no? If you had to hire them all over again, would you do it? If the answer is no, then what are we doing? Now, lest I be perceived as heartless, let me say this. I think the keeper test is great. I think it ought to be Business 101. Because what it's going to do is shine the light on your hiring processes. It's going to shine the light on your leadership abilities. If someone came in and you thought they had potential, but you as the leader did not make the most of their potential, and they did give you everything they could give, and you didn't harness it, and maybe you haven't led them well, again, that's on you. So this kind of keeper test is going to force you to go, because you might say, watch this, you might have a split answer on those two questions, leaders. You might say, if they left, would I fight to keep them? The answer might be no. But if you say, if I had to do all over again, would I hire them? And if you go back to that original decision, you go, it was a good hire at the time. What has changed? Did something go wrong in their personal life, started to affect them, and you didn't help lead them through that well? Did they start like a house on fire and you didn't move them up as they begin to master? They didn't have enough challenge, and so they got bored. I mean, these are real questions. It's possible. It's a very interesting split test. And I think it's actually really good. So I say bravo. And just to put a cap on this, I like what Netflix is attempting to do, because they went on to share the 4 core principles. They want a dream team. We aim to only have high performers at Netflix. That's not heartless. That, to me, is legendary stuff. If you can put a dream team together, you should. And they define that, by the way, as people who are great at what they do and even better at working together. Number 2, they said people over process. You get better outcomes when employees have the information and freedom to make decisions for themselves. We hire unusually responsible people who thrive on this. I love that statement. Now, again, I'm not inside Netflix, so I don't know if they live this stuff out, but I love it. It's a good start. 3, uncomfortably exciting. This was my favorite value. They want to entertain the world, and to do so, we need to be bold and ambitious. That means embracing the thrill of what's next, even when it's uncomfortable. And by the way, this keeper test is an uncomfortable process for leaders, but it is what will drive you to get the best. And finally, great and always better is the next value. We often say Netflix sucks today compared to where we can be tomorrow. We need the self-awareness to understand what should be better and the discipline and resilience to get there. Now, let me tell you something. Again, you got to live these values out. You can't just write these and put these out in a memo. But as far as the sniff test and on paper, these are great. And I'm not saying I agree with everything Netflix puts out. Don't get me into that stuff. I'm just talking about what I'm looking at right here. And I think the keeper test is fair. And I think it puts a high standard, not on the actual people, but it puts a higher standard on leaders. And it's going to make sure that you're doing proper inventory, because people are your greatest asset, period. End of story. And it's your job to get the right ones in and continue to develop them. Good for you, Netflix. I love it. All right, welcome back to the Ken Coleman Show. A little coaching session here. Let's go to James in Dallas, Texas. James, how can I help today?
Hey, how you doing, Ken?
I'm living the dream. What's going on with you?
Nothing much, man. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and I'm excited to talk to you. So,
yeah, me too. What's going on?
Nothing much, really. Just kind of like recent news. 2 weeks ago, I got fired like out of the blue for no reason.
What? What happened? To the best of your knowledge, what did they tell you?
Basically, there was a manager that is a newer manager, and you always say on your show, like, people quit managers, not the job. So I'll just preface it there. But he came in trying to play sheriff and try and figure out, who was doing wrong things and who was doing the right things. And he was targeting the wrong people because he wasn't really informed, and he just kind of had it out for people. And he decided to make an example out of me over something extremely petty. And, it was like,
what'd you do?
Nothing. That it was basic. So I'm a truck driver. Been driving since 2018 with no accidents or no incidents or anything like that, which is awesome. But I thank God for that every day. But there was an instance where we were having conversations about, being safe, and we always are. And I guess I was going 30 miles an hour down a county road without a seatbelt on, which in my profession, we don't really wear the seatbelt as much because we're in and out of the truck all the time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a gray area. It's, it's a very desolate county area. There's no traffic. And we were, getting ready to get out of the truck and do another stop or whatever. And they said that was they wanted to suspend me for 3 days to investigate. And then they decided that they were just going to push for termination.
Yeah, that's dictatorship. That's not leadership. That's a dictator who is just really happy to be in charge. That person probably got a lot of wedgies in high school and now has got a leadership role. And I can always tell an authoritarian, and that's an authoritarian move. So,
sure.
You know what? I hate that it happened to you, but probably a great escape. Probably.
Honestly, it is.
Good.
Honestly, it's been very freeing. I feel, I'm a Christian guy, and I feel extremely at peace about it, and everything that it transpired, that because I know that God has something better for me. And
I agree.
know that.
I agree.
I listen to your show all the time, and I've never used my sweet spots. In most of the jobs I've ever had.
Well, let's talk about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did take your assessment. I was just going to preface that I took your assessment actually a long time ago, like almost 2 years ago now. Just to kind of get a glimpse of like what should I be doing and like it was actually a really nice result because I didn't realize that there were some things that on the assessment that I didn't even notice that I had.
Okay. So where are we at today? How can I help today?
Basically, I'm without a job. My wife just went back to, she's a registered nurse, and she just went back to work after leave. I just had my second son. So, things are pretty tight right now.
Sure.
But
are you doing anything for work?
Next steps are.
Okay. So right now, are you doing anything for work at this moment?
I haven't had the time to. I just redid my resume using your resume builder, and I'm starting to throw some out there. But it's been relatively recent. Like I said, it's only a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, gotcha.
So,
do you know where you want to go long term? Having taken the Get Clear assessment a couple of years ago, do you have ideas at least?
Yeah, like I have a couple things in mind. I really am like one of those jack of all trades, master of none kind of guys, unfortunately, it's a good thing. And it's also a bad thing because it's hard to like put my stake in the ground for one particular career.
Well,
I want to do like multiple things.
Yeah, but we just need to get clarity, and we need to pick a mountaintop and go. But all that means is that there are multiple mountains you're intrigued by climbing. When I hear somebody say I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, that just tells me somebody who's wildly talented but doesn't have clarity on direction.
That's about right.
Well, let's lock in. That's why you called today, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
all right,
sir.
but before we get to that, if I'm you and I got my second child just entered the world, my wife's going back to work, good lady, good on her. While I'm looking for whatever it is we're about to figure out, hopefully, I'm getting in a truck, I'm driving because you've got a lot of skill and experience, and my guess there's a lot of need in the greater Dallas area. And while I'm looking for that thing, I know I can jump behind the wheel of a truck somewhere and I can drive and get paid. And while I'm figuring it out, I really recommend that. I wouldn't sit around. I don't mean sit around literally, but I wouldn't wait for this new thing necessarily to develop. I don't know that it will. So let's figure out what these things are. You've taken the Get Clear assessment, which, by the way, folks, comes in the new book, Find the Work You're Wired to Do. And I know you took the Get Clear assessment a couple years ago, but at the end of this call, Kelly's going to get you the new book because this book I wrote as a short little, it's about a 45-minute read, but it's a coaching manual that gets you where you are with your assessment results, and I help you ideate. So this will be additional coaching beyond our call, James. So I'm going to give you the new book, Find the Work You're Wired to Do. You can get it at kencoleman.com for the rest of you.
I appreciate that.
All right, let's go. What are you thinking about? You took the assessment. You got an idea what you're good at, what you enjoy doing, and what motivates you. So what do we got? Ideas.
I think, kind of like what you always, like when you have calls with people, all it really does is just kind of reminds them what they're good at. So what I've always been good at is I'm a people guy. Like whenever I'm around people, I light up.
Great.
I enjoy working with a team. I've always been an athlete and like being around
What are your best people skills? If I were to interview everybody that knows you, James, what would they say? If I said, give me James' top 3 people skills.
I'm a social chameleon. I can go into any situation and connect with people.
All right, that's the talent of connection. All right. What else?
Yeah. My communication is off the charts. Like I can communicate to the smallest detail or the greatest detail.
Great. Give me one more.
Also for kind of like persuasion, but not like in a bad way, like in a good way.
No, I get it.
But like
Fantastic.
persuasion to I've always been like a natural salesperson.
Great.
And I just want to add one thing to that, just so we're on the same page. But like I've also had commission-based jobs before, and I was terrible at them. But with the hourly-based jobs, I was the best.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you why that is.
I'm not sure why that is.
I know. I think I know why. You don't like the pressure of coercion, and that the pressure of going out there and you having to kill it and drag it home. You don't do well with that. I think you go, give me my clear goals, and I'm going to go do the thing. I still think some people are wired for straight commission roles. They don't like rejection. That's my guess. And the sting of rejection in a commission-based job is a nightmare for some people, where some people are like a wood chipper. They just go through nose like sticking a log in a wood chipper, and spits it out. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's how it feels on my commission-based jobs, and it's very unclear how you're getting paid, and like there's always issues with that. And the hourly-based jobs, I can just exceed my goals.
Exactly, that's my point.
Have what I need.
So that's your fear factor, and you're going to either have to overcome that or just settle into that and go, "This is how I'm wired, and I'm not wired for that," and that's okay. So, do you have your results with you?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Give me 1 second.
I want to know really quickly. Well, first of all, we're running out of time, but I'm giving you the book. Here's what I want to know. What are the ideas that you've had? Because I know you don't call me after listening to this show, taking the assessment.
Yeah.
Well, I want to know what are the top one or two things that you go, Ken, I just need some validation or some confirmation, or I need to know how to get there. What are those one or two things?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Mostly, I've looked at some different options and then kind of looked around and looked at like the different results based on the, my purpose statement results. And honestly, there's not a whole lot that really was surprising. It was pretty simple from what I kind of
Give me the
knew,
top two.
but
James, give me the top two.
I want to be a professional barber, or I want to be like a sales manager.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I love both of those. And your assessment results validate those two things, correct?
Correct. Man,
let me tell you something. It was obvious to me that whatever your ideas are, they're going to have to fall into people. You're good with people, and you enjoy working with people. So being a barber is fantastic for you. You go learn the craft, go get behind the wheel of a truck today. Start driving and getting paid so that we take the financial pressure off, okay? And you and your wife are now double income, stack the cash, go get qualified as a barber if that's the one you choose. And then get in there and you're going to be like a part-time coach, part-time psychologist, and part-time artist on their hair. You will absolutely thrive in that environment. Or if you want to get into a role where you are leading a group of salespeople and coaching them and teaching them, encouraging them, loving on them, essentially being a coach, I think you'll thrive in that environment. Either one of those works. So I would say pick the one that your heart, do the heart test. And just let your heart, and go hang out with a barber or two. Hang out with some guys that are sales managers. And the heart's going to just go ding, 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 or like on Family Feud, right? And then go after the heart, follow the heart, follow the heart, follow the heart. And then you're going to be fine, my friend. You're going to be absolutely fine. Appreciate the call. Folks, that's how it works right there. When you use what you do best, to do what you love, to produce results you care about, you're doing meaningful, purposeful work.
Thanks for listening to The Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.